Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So as we start our spiritual journey towards the relation of God, we may get many questions like the God who is omnipotent, who is omnipresent, present everywhere, and is omniscient. He knows everything, and he is the creator and he is the controller of everything. So does he have a definite form? How can he have a definite form? Because he is present everywhere. So such kind of questions we may get. Or if he has a form, then what is his real form? What can be his form? So this kind of contradictory opinions is going on since ages, that God has a form or is a formless. Is God a personal or is impersonal? So let us try to understand about this matter, beginning with some basic logics. We know that from the definition of God, we have understood that all the emanations which we see are coming from the God. Krishna has stated in Bhagavadgita. And he is the source of everything that is existing in this whole creation. So aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate. That's what he tells in 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that everything is emanating from him and he is the source of everything. So now by the logic we can understand that if the emanations are all having form in this creation, then how can the source of emanation cannot have the form? We see all the emanations in this world, the living entities or the unconscious beings, the non-living things, the material things, everything has a certain kind of form. If you see the living entities, the living bodies have different forms. The different living bodies have their own form. Like human beings have their form, the animals have their form, the birds have their form, even trees have the form, insects have the form. Everything has a different form in this world. And even non-living things have their forms, isn't it? They have the specific forms. So, but how come the source of all this, what we are seeing, the creation, doesn't have the form? So this is like contradictory to the basic understanding of God, because everything is coming from God and we see around everything is having a form, but God himself is not having a form. So this is not a complete understanding. So then, going to the next point, next logic, we can understand, by definition God is complete, is a complete entity. In Ishopanishad there is an invocation mantra. It states that Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. It states that Om Purnamada. Om is a representation of God. It is a representation of Krishna. Krishna tells in Gita that Pranavaha Omkaraha. So he tells, I am the Pranavaha Om. So Om Purnamada. Purnam means the complete and perfect. Here Ada and represents that which is the source of everything, Krishna and the spiritual world. Purnamada Purnamidam. And even this world is also complete in itself. So, and whatever comes from God is complete. And when something complete comes from the God will not reduce in his capacity. He will still remain complete. This is what is invocation mantra of Ishopanishad. So we can understand that the definition of God is complete. So nothing can miss out. So if we are saying that God is impersonal, He is not having form, then somewhere God is not complete. We are showing that God is incomplete. So this again contradicts the original definition of God. That's why for God to be complete, He should be both. He should be personal and impersonal. How can this be possible? This is possible because the impersonal light, the Brahma Jyoti, is nothing but the effulgence of the God, the divine bodily effulgence of the God. That's what even the another mantra of Ishopanishad states, that Iranmayena Patrena Satyapihitam Mukam. Iranmayena means the golden effulgence. It is as bright as like a golden effulgence. Iranmayena Patrena Satyapihitam. Satyapihitam means the Param Satya is, it is covering the face of the Param Satya. Pihitam Mukam. Mukam means face. So in that mantra it is stating that, oh, please remove that covering of the effulgence so that I can see your divine face, O Krishna. So that's why God, for to be complete, He should have both these things. He is a personal as well as He is impersonal. But the impersonal understanding is inferior compared to the personal understanding. Because in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a verse which mentions the various levels of understanding or realization of God. It states that Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdyate. It means that God can be understood in three different phases or three different levels. The first level is Brahman, and the second level is Paramatma, and third level is Bhagavan. Bhagavan means who has a form, Krishna. So first phase of understanding is that God exists everywhere. That is, He is Brahman, He is the absolute truth, He is eternal. But as we go more deeper, we understand that He is a Paramatma. He also interacts with the living entities. But still there is no relationship, there is no connection. But if you go ahead, the more deeper realization of God is the Bhagavan realization. He has the form and we can talk to Him face to face. We can have a relationship with Him. We can live with Him. We can always stay with Him. And we can exchange our love with Him. So this is what is the highest realization, that is Bhagavan realization. So that's what Srimad Bhagavad Puran says, that there are three phases of understanding of God. Just like the example is given of when you are traveling to some place and from far distant you see a mountain, and when you see a mountain it is a very gazy appearance. You feel that there are some clouds and you cannot even see some definite form of the mountain, but you just see that something very huge is there. But as you go more and more near to that, you start getting clear vision that the clouds appears to be moved away and you can see the form of the mountain. But still it is not so clear. It appears it's like green color mountain. But as you go more and more near and you have already reached the mountain, you start seeing there are so many trees. There are even some cows maybe grazing the mountain, and there are some other animals and the people walking there. So you start seeing more and more clear, and you start getting the different form. Similarly, the Brahman, impersonal Brahman understanding of God, the Paramatma understanding of God, and the Bhagavan understanding of God are all in truth, but they are truth in a different levels and different phases. So the one who is understanding God to be Brahman, impersonal Brahman, he is also understanding about the God, but he is very far from the God. Still he is far farther from the God than who is having the realization of God as Paramatma. And still he is also farther from the one who is understanding the God as a Bhagavan, who has a definite form. Srila Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON, he mentions the reason for this kind of mentality of thinking the Supreme Absolute Truth to be impersonal. Because we observe in this world the material body is perishable. It is it gives a misery, it gives suffering, and it becomes old, and it is not perfect. So the same conception that people hold, that even the God's body is also like this. If God's body is also like this, then how can he be God? So that's why they think that God must be impersonal. He cannot have like a body like us. We all have the body like a mortal body. It gets perished one certain time and it gets old, all these things. So that's why they think that God cannot be having such body. But Krishna in Bhagavadgita clearly mentions that his body is not like this. He has a divine body. The divine body is eternal, and the same divine spiritual body he appears in this world. He mentions in Gita chapter 4 that Ajopi sannavyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhishtaya sambhavami atma mayaya. So Krishna is telling here Ajopi san avyayatma. He is telling, though I am unborn and I am avyayatma. Avyayatma means Vyaya means which gets deteriorated. Avyaya Atma. Avyaya Atma means my personal form is of imperishable. So that's why his form is of spiritual form, not made up of the matter like what we have received, the Panchamahabhuta Sharira, which is having bones, muscles, flesh, blood, arteries, veins, all these things. So but his form is divine, is spiritual, made up of Chinmaya, Satchidananda Sharira. So that's why Krishna tells, I just appear with my own spiritual potency. Sambhavami Atma Mayaya, Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya. Krishna is not under the laws of nature, but the laws of nature, all the Prakriti is under Krishna. So Krishna doesn't have to take a body like us. When he appears in his own divine body, and there is no difference between he and the body, unlike the living entities in this world. In this world, all the living entities, they are the spirit soul. Due to the ignorance and due to the conditioned nature, they have accepted the material body in this world. But in case of Lord, there is no difference between himself and the body, because he himself is the Satchidananda Swarupa, and that is mentioned in several scriptures. Like there are references in many Vedic scriptures, like the Brahma Samhita, the first verse itself, the Brahma mentions that Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. So he mentions here Krishna is Satchidananda Vigraha. Satchidananda means Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, full of knowledge, full of conscious, and Ananda, full of bliss. Satchidananda Vigraha. Vigraha means who has this divine form. So here it is mentioned that Krishna has a form. And in many other scriptures also it is mentioned, like in Rig Veda. So it is mentioned that the Supreme Lord is Vishnu, who has a divine form, and all his devotees and all the devatas, they are very anxious to always worship him. So this is a reference in Rig Veda. And in the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, so it is there is a mantra mentioned like Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha Satchidananda Rupaya. So like this it is there. There also again it is mentioned that offer my obeisances to Lord Krishna, who has this divine Sachidananda Swarupaya, whose form is of this spiritual form, Chinmaya form. So like this we can find the references in various scriptures. Hare Krishna.